I saw Adam grab the glass I'd just swapped with Sarah, my little sister, before I could even process what was happening. It only took a second, but I heard the sharp clink of glass, heard his breath tighten like it was being squeezed out of him. Everyone's laughter faded. The space around the table seemed to stretch. Adam's eyes met mine. A flash of fear, a flash of anger, then all of it slipped behind a thin smile so faint I couldn't believe it was real. He set the glass back in front of me, so lightly it barely touched the table. "Why'd you switch glasses?" His voice was steady in a strange way, but his hands were still tense. I didn't answer right away. My throat felt dry. Something about the way he looked at that glass sent a chill down my spine, even though I had no idea why. A few hours before my birthday, things had already started to feel a little off, but back then I just thought he was trying to make me happy. Adam handled everything himself, from the vanilla cream cake to the guest list. He even called each person to make sure they'd show up on time. I remember laughing and asking, "Are you throwing this party for me or for you?" He just shrugged, but the look he gave me felt like he was trying to read me. "I just want everything to be perfect. It's your birthday." When I reached to pour my own wine, he stopped my hand. "Let me. You shouldn't drink too much. You know your limit." It sounded like a caring reminder, but the way he repeated it 2-3 times made me pause. I'm not someone who gets tipsy easily. Still, I didn't think much of it. I chose to believe he was just being overly eager. When the guests arrived, Adam handled everything. He greeted them, put on music, served the cake, and told me to relax and enjoy. For a moment, watching him move around the room, I felt grateful for how thoughtful he was. But now, thinking back, something about that thoughtfulness feels a little too staged. When it came time to pour the wine, Adam stood almost right next to me. He held the bottle of white wine in his right hand, gave the neck a small twist, and let a thin stream fall into the glass in front of me. Nothing was strange about the way he poured it. What caught my attention was his eyes. He didn't look away from the glass. It was like he was measuring my reaction instead of pouring a drink. I lifted the glass and gave it a small swirl, watching the wine catch the light. Sarah, sitting next to me, laughed. "You look like you're doing a wine tasting." I laughed with her. A quick thought crossed my mind. Switch glasses just for fun. I slid mine toward Sarah and pulled hers toward me. That was it. A tiny movement, but Adam's reaction was anything but tiny. He lunged forward so fast the whole table jumped. Sarah almost dropped her fork. Adam snatched the glass I just touched, gripping it so hard his knuckles went white. His eyes widened like I'd done something terrible. "Everything okay?" someone asked. Adam straightened up right away. He smiled, a smile forced onto a face that hadn't caught up yet. "I thought you were going to spill it. Sorry. That was a bit of an overreaction." Laughter eased back around the table, but not quite naturally. Everyone went back to their plates. I watched his hand on the glass. It was still a little shaky. "Why did you react like that?" I whispered. "I told you," he said, his voice so calm I couldn't pull any real feeling from it. "I thought you were going to spill it." But that wasn't what I saw on his face in that first second. The first second was fear and anger. Two emotions that had nothing to do with me swapping two identical wine glasses. After the party, I couldn't shake it off. The house was dark, the guests' footsteps long gone, but my mind was still stuck on that moment when the glasses switched places. I asked Adam again while we cleaned up. "You still think that was strange?" He set a stack of plates down and leaned against the counter. The warm yellow light made his expression harder to read. "You're being sensitive. I didn't react that strongly." I looked at him. "You practically yanked it out of my hand." "You're remembering it wrong." His voice was soft but sharp. "You'd been drinking. Maybe things felt different." I froze. A silence opened between us. wider than the kitchen itself. I remember exactly what happened. I remember how fast he moved toward the table. I remember the sound Sarah made when she gasped. I remember the look in his eyes before the smile showed up. But Adam spoke with absolute certainty, the kind of certainty that could make anyone doubt their own memory. That night, when I went to bed first, I could still hear the clink of the glasses from when he grabbed mine. It echoed like a warning beat. When he came into the room, I asked one last time, "You really don't think you overreacted?" Adam sat down beside me. "Are you sure about that? Or are you misremembering?" A simple sentence, tossed out lightly, but it hit me like a cold pin. I turned my face into the pillow, trying to sort everything out in my head. I wasn't tired, but he turned off the light like he was closing the conversation. In the dark, I heard his breathing steady. Mine, on the other hand, came quicker. Am I imagining this? I asked myself in the quiet. There wasn't an answer, just the image of Adam grabbing that glass, sharp as a cut, replaying over and over without fading. And from that moment, a small but solid feeling took root in me. Something wasn't right. I just didn't know if it started with the glass or with Adam himself. I began noticing small changes around the house, things that didn't seem like anything on their own. But when they happened again and again, they created a strange sense, like I was living in a home someone arranged for me, not the one I shared with Adam. The vase on the shelf was always shifted to the right when I came home from work. I remembered placing it in the center that morning, clearly, but by evening it had moved. When I asked about it, Adam said, "You moved it. You forgot." He didn't sound annoyed. His voice was so gentle it made me feel like maybe I really had forgotten, but I could still picture my hand setting it down, perfectly clear. Another time, our wedding photo frame fell while I was in the bedroom. I heard the noise, ran out, and saw it on the floor, the glass still intact. Adam stepped in behind me in less than 3 seconds, like he showed up before I even had time to process what happened. "You bumped into it and forgot, didn't you?" He bent down to pick it up, something unreadable flickering in his eyes. "I was in the bedroom." I said it as calmly as I could. Adam paused. "You just walked out. You could have brushed it without noticing." Maybe, but it felt like the truth was sitting somewhere outside his explanation. A few days later, I borrowed his phone to call Sarah because mine was dead. When I opened his contacts, my eyes skimmed over his messages by accident. I'm not someone who checks Adam's phone, but a familiar chat thread was gone. I remembered reading a few lines the day before. He'd texted a coworker that he'd be home late because of a last-minute meeting. That thread wasn't there anymore. "Where did your messages go?" I asked. Adam looked at me like I'd said something that didn't make sense. "What messages?" "The ones with your coworker." "You forgot the passcode again? You're looking at the wrong thing." He gave a small smile. Not a happy one, but the kind that makes you feel silly. I wanted to say I was sure I'd seen that conversation, but the words stopped in my throat. Adam was always calm, and every time I tried to talk about what I remembered, I felt myself wobble, like I was standing on weak floorboards. The doctor's appointment happened the next week. I checked my email and saw my appointment had been moved to the following week. I didn't remember asking them to reschedule. I asked Adam if he knew anything about it. "You messaged them," he said, like it was obvious. "I didn't," I said firmly. Adam frowned, not annoyed, but just enough to make me feel like I was being difficult. "You did, Natalie. You forget things. You've been stressed lately. I think you need some rest." I stood still, listening to the soft wind through the window. Everything he said sounded reasonable. No one wants to argue about their own memory when the person in front of them is calm and absolutely sure. Maybe I did forget. That thought chilled me. I'd never doubted my memory before. Sarah came over that weekend. She looked around the house, then at me, longer than usual. When Adam stepped out of the room, she grabbed my hand. Are you okay? Her voice was quiet but sharp. I'm fine. Why are you asking? Sarah looked straight into my eyes. I think there's something off about him. I laughed, though it wasn't real. Adam's just a little overprotective. It's nothing. No, I saw him talking to Dr. Cole twice recently. And neither of those conversations looked like work talk or anything normal. They both seemed tense. I blinked. Adam just wants to ask her how to support me. He cares. That wasn't concern, Nat. That was someone hiding something. I pulled my hand back gently. I knew Sarah was worried, but something in what she said made me react on instinct. You're reading too much into it. He just wants to help me stay balanced. Sarah looked at me for a long time. Do you still trust your own feelings? The question shut me up. I didn't want to believe I was losing trust in reality. But if I still trusted my instincts, why did my memory feel smaller, weaker, every time Adam explained something? After that day, everything seemed to speed up. Adam started talking about how I needed to be more emotionally stable, more often. At first, it sounded like gentle advice, but slowly the tone shifted into something closer to a statement about my mental state, one I didn't actually feel. You've been tired lately, forgetful, on edge. I want you to rest. You're overreacting. You're just stressed. I just want you to be okay. Each sentence felt like a small stone on my chest, light on its own, but heavy when they piled up. One night, when I told him I was meeting Sarah the next day, he stopped in the kitchen doorway, his hand resting on the frame like he was blocking my way just by standing there. I think you should stay away from her for a while. Why? I asked. She's confusing you. You don't need another voice making things more complicated. I looked at him, not sure how to respond. Part of me wanted to believe he was worried about me. Another part felt like I was being narrowed down, inch by inch. I just want to see my sister, I said quietly. Adam smiled. I just want what's best for you. When he left the room, I stayed where I was, feeling the floor shift under me by a few millimeters. No one else would notice it, but I did. That night, I sat on the sofa, the warm light spreading across the walls. I looked at the things in the house, the vase, the photo frame, the small rug by the door. They were all familiar, but I wasn't sure they were in the same places they'd been that morning. It felt like I was living in a house that moved a little every time I turned away. I closed my eyes, trying to find the version of myself I used to know, the woman who knew what she wanted, remembered what she'd done, and trusted every decision she made. But that feeling was fading. Like it was covered in a thin layer of dust. I didn't know what was changing more, the house or me. Adam stepped out of the bedroom, his voice as light as always. You're not asleep yet? I'm a little tired, I said, glancing over at him. He sat beside me and touched my shoulder gently. I know. I'm trying to help you. I nodded, but my chest tightened. I didn't know if he was helping me or leading me away from myself. I felt like I was drifting, not fast, not violently, just a quiet, steady drift, slow enough that I couldn't tell how far I'd already gone from shore. And in that moment, for the first time, a thought surfaced. If something is wrong, maybe it isn't my memory. Maybe it's the person trying to rewrite it. I stayed in the dark living room after Adam had gone to sleep. That drifting feeling clung to me, like something was pulling me away from who I really was. I opened my laptop, just wanting to check a few small things to keep my mind from spiraling too fast. But when my inbox lit up, I saw an unread email. No sender name, no signature. Just one short line. He's not who you think he is. I shot up from the couch like someone had called my name out loud. My heart pounded so hard I had to press a hand to my chest. My fingers trembled as I opened the email again. No attachment, no link, just that sentence. Cold, empty, certain. I looked around the house. The room was so quiet I could hear the heater humming, but it didn't feel quiet. It felt watched. I read the line again, then closed the laptop. It felt like a thin crack had just opened in the middle of my home, one that could split my whole life into before and after. The next day, when Adam left for work, I opened that email again, and a second one was already waiting. This time, there was an attachment, an audio file. I hesitated for a few seconds. My hand on the touchpad went cold. Then I hit play. Adam's voice came through, clear, close enough that it felt like he was standing right behind me. She'll never leave me if she believes she can't take care of herself. Every word hit the air like ice. I gripped the headphones. There was no warmth in that sentence, no softness of a husband worried about his wife. It was steady, certain, like he was laying out a plan. I pulled my hand back, then pressed play again. I wasn't mistaken. It was Adam's voice. My legs went numb with fear, not the panicked kind, the kind that keeps your body still while your mind pulls away into the distance. I took the headphones off just as I heard the door open. Adam walked into the kitchen, took off his coat, set his keys on the table. I snapped the laptop shut so fast it made a small sound. He looked over. "You're up early. I thought you were still sleeping." His voice was as gentle as any other morning. I pressed my lips together, trying to breathe normally. Couldn't sleep. He walked closer and set his hand on my shoulder. "You've been worn out lately. I can see it. Don't put pressure on yourself." His words fell over me like a damp blanket. Not heavy, but cold. "I'm fine," I said. He gave a gentle smile. "You always say that, but I can tell you're tense. You should relax. Don't let your mind run all over the place." The way he said it made my chest tighten. I had just listened to that recording minutes ago, and now he was standing in front of me saying things that made me doubt my own state of mind, as if my feelings were the problem, not the words he'd said in that file. I kept my back straight, revealing nothing. Not now. That evening, we ate dinner in a quiet room. Adam talked about ordinary things, work, the weather, weekend plans, but every time I went silent for more than a few seconds, he'd set his knife down and look at me. "You're overthinking again." "I can see it," he said. "Why do you keep saying that?" I asked, my voice low. "Because I care. It's not good for you to stay this stressed. I want you to feel more stable." I wanted to slam my hand on the table, to ask him if he'd heard the recording himself, or if I was the only one living alongside two versions of him. But I swallowed it. Sitting across from him felt like standing in front of a perfectly still lake, calm on the surface, with something deep underneath. I ate in silence. He rested his hand on the back of my chair, a familiar gesture, but now it felt less like comfort and more like being held in place. The next day, Sarah asked me to meet her near her place. As soon as I sat down, she looked at me with an expression that didn't leave room for jokes. "Nat, I need to tell you something. Don't be mad." I tightened my grip on my glass, my wrist stiffening. "Say it." "Adam and Dr. Cole. I've seen them meet at least 3 times. Not by accident. They planned it." I froze. He explained that. He asked her for guidance, how to support me. Sarah shook her head hard. "It wasn't like that. I heard them talking and it was tense. One time I was close enough to catch a few words. She glanced around, then lowered her voice. He said, 'I need you to help me make her see she depends on me.'" I set my glass down too gently, so gently my hand trembled. That sentence, it matched the recording. Not word for word, but the meaning was the same. Adam wasn't talking like someone supporting his wife. He was talking like someone building the conditions to keep me tied to him. "Do you think he's really doing that?" I asked, my voice small and hollow. "What do you think?" Sarah said. The fact that you're asking that question is already your answer. I turned away. I wanted to push back, to tell Sarah she was reading too much into it, but part of me was starting to believe her. The part I'd been burying under logic for weeks. That night, I opened my laptop and started digging. The first thing I did was trace the anonymous email. I tried checking the IP. Nothing. Just a mass chain of addresses. I checked the email header again. No usable information. I replied, "Who are you?" No response. It didn't feel like someone helping me. It felt like someone watching me, watching this whole household. And they knew Adam better than I did. I looked around the house. White walls, big windows, the same warm yellow light. But the feeling of invisible eyes on me made me wrap my arms around myself. I wondered, were they trying to warn me or leading me somewhere even worse? The next morning, after Adam left, I got another email. No attachment this time, just one sentence, like it was written for the exact moment I was standing on the edge of doubt. If you want the truth, don't trust what he explains. Watch how he reacts when you ask. I read it slowly. Each word felt like a mark pressed into me. It didn't tell me to trust evidence. It didn't tell me to listen to his words. It told me to watch his reactions. I set my hand on the table, feeling my body brace itself like I was about to step into a dark room. I knew exactly what I had to do next. I had to ask Adam, not to hear his answer, but to see how he reacted. Just thinking about it made my heart pound so hard I could hear it in the quiet kitchen. I didn't know what I was about to uncover. I only knew I couldn't turn back. I stood outside the kitchen doorway for a long moment before walking in. Adam was washing a glass, the water running in a steady stream, and that sound made my heartbeat even louder in contrast. I knew this moment would change everything, but I couldn't pull away now. I sat down, opened my laptop, and played the recording the anonymous sender had sent me. "Adam," I said, my voice soft but firm, "I need you to hear this." He turned around and wiped his hands on a towel. No surprise, no defensiveness, just that familiar calm. I pressed play. "She'll never leave me if she believes she can't take care of herself." His voice filled the kitchen. I watched Adam closely, searching for any flicker in his face, a twitch, a shift, anything. But he didn't change expression at all. "I know that clip," he said, calm to the point of irritation. "Listen to me." He took out his phone, scrolled, and pulled up another audio file. He set it on the table and hit play. "She'll never leave me if she believes she can't take care of herself. So I want to help her get her confidence back." His voice in this version sounded different, warmer, caring. He looked at me while the last words of the original recording echoed between us, as if he wanted me to see sincerity in his eyes. "Natalie? Someone edited the other one," he said, clearly to drive us apart. I stared at the two recordings, feeling like I was standing between two versions of the truth. The anonymous one was cold, raw. Adam's version was reasonable, so reasonable it made me feel naive for believing the first. "You see," Adam continued, "they took half a sentence and twisted it into something else." I wanted to push back, but there was no room in his tone for doubt to land. I felt myself wobble. "Someone wants you scared of me," he said softly, "wants you to think I'm controlling you." "I've never done that." He set his hand on the table near mine, not touching, but close enough that I felt his warmth. "I love you, Nat. I'm just trying to help you." I nodded slightly, unable to form a word. My mind didn't fully believe him, but his steady calm pressed down on every argument rising inside me. One more layer of doubt smudged away by him. That afternoon, I went to the therapy session with Adam. Dr. Cole sat across from us, her hair tied back, her expression perfectly neutral. I tried to watch her closely because the anonymous email still lingered in my mind like an invisible hand on my shoulder. I asked directly, "Adam has been seeing you a lot lately, hasn't he?" Dr. Cole nodded. "Yes, he's been asking how to support you emotionally. He's worried about you, especially when you doubt yourself." Adam gave my hand a small squeeze, as if to reinforce what she said. "I don't see anything concerning," Dr. Cole continued. "The fact that he's taking the initiative to learn how to support his partner is actually very positive." Her explanation made perfect sense. So much sense that I felt like I was the only one seeing a thin layer of fog they both somehow missed. "I've been feeling like," I started, but the sentence broke in the middle. "I know," Dr. Cole said softly. "Fear can create stories that aren't real. What matters is that you know you're loved and cared for." Adam looked at me as if he shared my worry. Everything was too aligned, too consistent, and that perfection unsettled me even more. After the session, Sarah called me to her place. She looked more tense than I'd ever seen her. Before I could even take off my coat, she pulled me into the living room and pointed under the table. "I found this," she said. A small recording device sat on the table. The kind that was easy to hide anywhere in a house without being noticed. "Where?" I asked. Sarah swallowed. "In your living room, right behind the TV stand. It's not yours, is it?" I shook my head. I'd never bought anything like it. She opened the battery compartment. No prints, nothing. Like someone wore gloves when they planted it. I sat down. My head throbbed like waves hitting the inside of my skull. "Nat," Sarah said, her voice quieter now. "Are you sure Adam isn't involved?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to defend him. But as I tried to think of proof that he wasn't, all I could see was him presenting a perfectly timed original recording, and Dr. Cole backing his story without missing a beat. Everything fit together with no rough edges, and the lack of rough edges was the rough edge. That night, I got home before Adam. I sat in the car for a moment, looking up at his office window. The light was on. I didn't remember turning it on when I left that morning. Something tightened inside me. I opened the front door quietly, walked down the hallway. As I got closer to his office, I heard a voice, his voice. I held my breath and took a few more steps. "No, she's getting more suspicious." Adam's voice, clear. A silence followed. Then Dr. Cole's voice came through, soft, but with a closeness that didn't try to hide itself. "You need to steer it back. If she takes control of the narrative, everything falls apart." I froze. "We have to stay consistent," Dr. Cole continued. "When she questions you, stay calm. Make her believe her own feelings can't be trusted." My heart pounded so hard, it felt like it was trying to break out of my chest. My throat tightened. Each word dropped like a stone. "I know," Adam said. "She needs to believe she needs me." The exact same meaning as the recording. I set my hand on the edge of the door frame but didn't push it open. I just looked through the small gap and saw something I never thought I would. Adam was standing very close to Dr. Cole. Too close. The kind of distance that didn't belong to two people talking about therapy sessions. Their eyes met in a way that was intimate. Not conflicted. Not guilty. Just aligned. Just complicit. I covered my mouth to stop any sound from slipping out. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart with their bare hand. The truth wasn't murky anymore. They were involved, and everything I'd been experiencing wasn't random, wasn't weakness, wasn't my memory fading. It was all, every bit of it, constructed to make me doubt myself. I stepped back and sank onto the floor in the hallway. The cold wood pressed against my spine. Fragments of the past weeks clicked together in my mind. The wine glass, the fallen photo frame, the rescheduled doctor's appointment, the vanished messages, the things he said to make me feel unstable. None of it was accidental. And I finally understood. The wine glass on my birthday never held anything unusual. No drug, no poison, no trace of the sinister plot I once imagined. The glass was just a prop, a staged moment meant to plant a seed of doubt inside me. If I believed I misremembered once, I'd believe I misremembered the next time, and the next. I put a hand over my face. I didn't cry. There were no tears left to fall, just a burning in my chest, like something inside me was dissolving. I stood, walked to the bedroom through air that felt thick. I pulled my suitcase from the closet. The wheels hitting the floor sounded louder than I expected. I stuffed a few outfits, my wallet, and my phone into the suitcase. I looked around the room that used to feel like the safest place in my life. Now it felt foreign, like a set piece from a life Adam wanted me to believe I was living. As I walked past the living room, I looked at the vase still shifted to the right. I moved it back to the center. And for the first time in weeks, I knew exactly what I'd just done. I didn't forget. I never forgot. I opened the door and stepped outside. I didn't slam it, didn't run. I just walked, each step heavy but certain. The breeze on the porch touched my face, cold, real, unwarped. I didn't know what was waiting for me next. I only knew I'd just stepped through a door I couldn't return from. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged to myself again. I left that house in silence, and it was in that same silence that I began piecing myself back together. A few days later, I found a new therapist, someone who didn't know Adam, didn't know our history, didn't carry any assumptions before I opened my mouth. At the first session, I sat on a gray fabric chair with my hands clasped together. I thought I'd spill everything in one breath, but my opening words came slowly, spaced out by the sound of my own heartbeat. I'm not sure what, over the past few months, was real, and what I was led to believe. My therapist nodded. No judgment, no rush to diagnose, just a steady presence that made my shoulders relax for the first time in weeks. We're going to help you trust your instincts again, she said. They never disappeared. They were just quieted. I closed my eyes. That thought made something in me feel lighter. A part of me had been screaming for a long time, starting from the wine glass on my birthday. But I let other people's voices pile on top of mine until I started believing my own instincts were broken. Through each therapy session, I began to see the line between care and control, between helping and manipulating, between someone who wants me stronger and someone who needs me to think I'm weak so I won't leave. Lines that once looked blurry were now slowly sharpening. Sarah stayed by my side the whole time. She didn't ask too many questions. She didn't push. She was just there, sometimes quiet, sometimes reminding me of the things she remembered so I could piece my own story back together. You're not fragile, Nat, she said one day as we sat on her porch. You were just living in a world where everything was arranged to make you doubt yourself. I tightened my grip on my glass. There were moments when I thought, maybe he was right. Maybe I really wasn't okay. Sarah shook her head. No, you just weren't allowed to trust yourself. You're stronger than you think. Her words didn't make me cry, but they softened something in my chest. Maybe I'd been underestimating myself for far too long simply because I'd been taught to. Piece by piece, my memories started fitting together again, no longer dropping into distorted gaps. And I realized the scariest part wasn't that Adam manipulated me. It was that I'd forgotten I deserved the truth more than any version he tried to feed me. I didn't press charges. I didn't expose him and Dr. Cole. I didn't post anything online or tell friends in a way that would tear him down. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted freedom. I chose to leave that marriage quietly, the way someone sets down a book when they already know exactly how it ends. No drama, no spotlight, just clarity. Some wounds don't need to be seen to heal. They just need to stop being touched. I went back to the small habits I lost along the way: morning runs, reading on the porch, standing in the kitchen without feeling watched, and little by little, I began to feel something I thought I'd misplaced forever: the sense of being the real version of myself, not bent into someone else's idea of who I should be. One day in therapy, my therapist asked, "If you look back, what moment changed things for you?" I took a few seconds before answering. Then I said, "The moment I switched the wine glasses." She gave a small smile. "And what does that moment mean to you now?" I took a deep breath. It reminds me my intuition was never wrong. I just wasn't brave enough to trust it. That night, standing on the porch of my new place, I watched the warm light reflect on the ground and felt something simple but very real: a peace I no longer feared someone could take from me. I whispered almost like a soft goodbye to the past. That birthday, I thought I switched the wrong glass, but really, I switched my whole life. And for the first time in a long time, saying it didn't hurt. It made me feel free.